LFC Daytrippers, brought to you by bookmakers.com.
Good evening and welcome to the Fatback 4 from the LFC Daytrippers. I'm Gavin. With me I have Emmet, Keith and Seany, as usual on a Sunday night. This show, of course, is brought to you by bookmakers.com. Check out bookmakers.com. Their website in the description and also their YouTube channel in the description. Their website's good if you want to gamble and you want to find the best odds on stuff. If you do that, do so responsibly. If you don't gamble, it's good for stats and comparisons and all that sort of stuff as well. So it might be worth looking at. The YouTube channel, if you subscribe there, you will see me on there once a week doing a Premier League show. So you might want to check that out. You might not, but check it out. It's doing good so far. We'll get back to our charity later because the charity, as you can see on screen, the link is in the description for our charity campaign as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. But Emma, Keith, Seany, we have to, as much as we don't want to, talk about Brighton 3, Liverpool 0 yesterday. Now, the lads done a fantastic job after the game yesterday because in fairness, after games like that, it's hard to come on and do a show. But Matt and Chris done it yesterday. The place was absolutely hopping. They done a great job on it. We're going to touch on certain elements of the game, but more so look at it in a bigger picture, I suppose. Emma, I'm going to start with you. That felt to me like a really, really low point yesterday where you would nearly turn around yourself and say, right, we need a complete reset here. We need to literally throw anything out the window of any kind of preconception we have of ourselves and get back to, I think I've seen someone in the chat already say, get back to basics, because I luckily avoided the game yesterday because me and Keith were drinking copious amounts of drink and the pub we were in weren't showing it. But I've watched the game back, I've seen extended highlights on top of it, and that just felt like one of the lowest points supporting Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, I said it yesterday that I think it's probably the worst performance that they've put in under Klopp, and the worrying thing is that he felt the same. I only saw that this morning, and even he cut a lonely figure, apologising to the fans afterwards, and that's probably the first time where, like, we always say, "Oh, we'll get back. We've done this before." Like, even when we lost 6 in a row at home, you thought that was a low point. But I still don't even think that this is. I think this is lower because, and Seany said it last week and possibly the week before, it looks like that this team is shot. It's done, and it is a massive reset that needs to be done. He spoke about, you don't know how long they practiced on the formation, but change of formation look, you should be able to adapt within a game. But making 4 substitutes as well, and I know we'll get into the game, it just seems a little bit kind of like we're treading water at the moment. And another worrying thing that he said in his interview, and I'm hoping that it was a bit lost in translation, was that he didn't see that performance coming. Now, I'm assuming he meant from the lads yesterday before they played the game. Everybody could see that performance coming for the last few weeks. Since the start of the season, we've not played well at all. This season, maybe 2 games, and even in the City game, we probably didn't play that great. They weren't up to much either. But yeah, it was coming. It was, I don't know. It's mixed emotions of anger. You're roaring at the telly, like it just seems like there's no direction on the team at the moment. People don't seem to know what jobs they're supposed to be doing. What formation are we playing in? It's just, I thought they need a good kick up the hole as well, I think, because we've said many times on here that the minimum effort is trying, and we kind of avoid trying to say that they're not trying. But yesterday looked like it was a training session for Brighton, and they literally had got themselves 10 new red cones to just pass the ball around. They were literally they ragdolled us and made an absolute show of us, I have to say.
Keith, Emmet saying there about a bit like lost in translation and stuff, like he didn't see this coming. I've gone on quite a bit about, I'm sure we get into Klopp and FSG and stuff, and people are in the chat going on about a possible Qatari bid, and we'll talk about that later, I promise. But for the moment, just let us get through what's going on here yesterday. But Keith, he says lost in translation, he didn't see that performance coming. When you watch Liverpool yesterday, right, they did seem to, personnel wise and probably formation wise, they set up like they would always set up. But I seen them, well, from what I seen yesterday was, I think Klopp expected us to go out and be more solid and be more compact, and it just wasn't that at all, Keith. Like, you had 3 men up front, and I feel sorry for Cody Gakpo because he's come in and played left side, then he has to go and play up front, and you're like, he's probably looking around going, what the fuck's going on here? Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain has played in a couple of different positions. Now he's left side, and then you have Salah, who's probably has the weight of the world on his shoulders up front to produce something. But you've seen from me yesterday, and just an awful lot of Brighton saying, we'll hold the ball here, one of them will come near us, and once we get through, half arse press really from the front three, we're going to destroy this through midfield and we're going to run. And is that what Klopp maybe meant with he didn't see that performance coming, because he probably set them out to do something slightly different and it just didn't come off at all?
Yeah, God knows. He didn't see it coming. He can't have just been talking about a performance like that and not seeing that coming, because I think everyone could see that coming. Little tweaks here and there, changes in personnel formation or whatever. I just don't know, Gav. It's very it's hard because Klopp is starting to cut a bit of a desperate figure to me now, in the sense that he's saying, he's talking a bit of scutter. Do you know what I mean? He's talking a bit of shy, and I think back to maybe when he was coming to the end at Dortmund, not to the end because it was more the start of that season, and he was a bit all over the shop emotionally. And I think he's a little bit emotional now as well. I mean, Oxlade-Chamberlain, what's he giving us? Do you know what I mean? Like, what are we getting out of Ox when he's in that team? I don't know. Cody Gakpo, you come in, you're a left winger, you're playing centre forward. It's not the easy. He's done it. Cody Gakpo, one of the things we were told when we bought him is he's a very versatile player, can play in a few positions. But coming into a team like this, at a time like this, against an opposition like that, because I have to say Brighton are an excellent team. I don't know what Klopp is. Like I said, he's not trying enough. He's not trying enough to change it at the moment for me. But look, I can't even talk about this because my camera is frozen and I'm like a poxy bleeding ventriloquist here. But it's just soul destroying, you know what I mean? You're watching it. Now, in saying that, I expect Klopp can turn it around. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't be in this camp of, Klopp out and you're at nonsense. Do you know what I mean? But I just think he needs to do something. And look, we all know what needs to happen. And if that doesn't happen, I don't know what he's going to do to fix it, because we don't have the players in this squad now to fix it, and that's the worry. Do you know what I mean? The problems we have in that midfield now cannot be fixed because Henderson isn't going to get his legs back. Thiago's not going to get quicker. Fabinho's not going to get quicker. Harvey Elliott's not going to get quicker. Naby Keita's not going to get fit. Do you know what I mean? And that's where the problem is. The midfield has no legs. Everyone has said that. I've had me blinkers on about it, saying, no, it's up to everyone else. Stevie Wonder can see the problem with that team now, and it's all in that midfield because the pressure that's getting put everywhere else. We've said it for years on this show. Liverpool's a machine. One bit of the machine breaks and the whole thing breaks. And that's what's happened now. It's the midfield is just crocked. We've neglected it for too long. And the chickens are coming home to roost. Arthur Mello, what's the point? Do you know what I mean? What's the blatant point to him? And Jurgen will come out and he'll talk about midfield and he'll say we've these, that, and the other. We haven't got a midfield at the moment, and until that gets fixed or sorted. And I look at a player like Moise Caicedo, and we've said it for a long time on this show. He is the ideal player for our midfield. He is energy, he's non-stop movement, running. And it's sickening when you see, I don't care what other teams do, right? You can't control what other teams do. You can't control what Liverpool do, but, you know, people going mad because Chelsea signed Mudryk. Well, that's nothing really to do with us. But surely everyone can see that there has to be something done in this team because it's just not happening. It's not working. It's broke. It's fucking broke. Like my camera, it's gone to shit.
Well, jump out there and sort stuff out and come back in. And
I was going to do that, and then you came to me with a question, so I'm like, I better just hold on.
Now. We go on. You can have a few minutes off and you can sort stuff out. Shawnee, you know, we're in this period now where there's a lot of blame game going on. All right, so, you know, and listen, everyone's entitled to an opinion with regards to it. Everyone's entitled to what they feel is the problem, or who is the problem, or what individual, or whatever it might be, right? And like I said, we're going to talk about a possible Qatari bid later on. And, you know, Klopp does cut a very frustrated figure. I was saying to you a couple of shows ago, maybe a week ago, that, you know, I'm nearly at the point where if Klopp has an issue with FSG in regards to he wants A, B or C and he's not getting it, I'd nearly rather Klopp come out and say, listen, I want something but I can't get it, just to get some sort of realism on this, because it's just like it's just like two things like FSG and Klopp saying very little, right, but everyone else having loads to fucking say about it without anything being said, and that's a frustration. But Shawnee, they look broken to me. They look out of ideas. They didn't look motivated for me yesterday. They didn't even look motivated to keep themselves in a shape and stay as a team. You know, the 10 on that pitch are going to stay within 50 yards of each other at all times, and that's how we're going to get through this. But there was none of that. It was very ragged. It was very... The press up front was mad to me yesterday. But, Shawnee, you have to all... Like, you have to all keep together, right? But,
absolutely, yeah.
Right, they have to keep together because that's just the way it is, and they've been together for so many years. I don't think anyone out there is intentionally letting anyone else down. You know what I mean? It's just the way it is at the moment. But surely, Shawnee, whether it's FSG or whether it's Klopp or whether it's players that just need to be told they're not good enough for their own fucking sake at this stage, right? It has to be identified now as to what the problem is, Shawnee, and it has to be acted on. And I know you're going on about writing off seasons, but it's a lot of money to be writing off and stuff like that. But surely between them all now, Shawnee, they have to turn and say, this is definitely wrong. We're going to have to make some very harsh decisions on people, and we're going to have to identify it and sort it. And literally, Shawnee, they have 2 weeks to sort something here, just to put the first step in. Because, and the reason I'm saying this to you, Shawnee, is because I was listening to the Anfield rap after the game yesterday. Right, this morning I was listening to it, and Neil Atkinson said, "I've no problem with a transition season, but I'm seeing fuck all a transition. Like nothing's changed to make you go that's transition." Yeah. And I just want, and when I heard that, I went, you know what, he's right, because you need to see something happening. If we 3 new players, you're going to go, this is what's happening, but there's none of that, Shawnee. It has to be identified and it has to be sorted, and we're going to have to be absolutely ruthless in this. Whether it's Klopp, the owners, they leave, wherever it might be, something definitely has to happen. Something has to come out here, Shawnee, where people can go, okay, this is where we're going.
Yeah, but again, like, I think fans look at everything, look at the small picture of everything. But I think it's time now to look at the small picture. We need to, what can we do to change it now? If we're going off what Klopp said, now, I've said many times on the podcast before, Jurgen Klopp's penchant to a little lie here and there. He's told plenty of them. And he's come out and admitted that at times. But you need to think, right, if we aren't going to acquire any more players in the next 2 weeks, what can we do to fix it? I think the answer would start with not playing a fucking 4-3-3, changing it up. Like, if it's not working now, it's not going, but they're just not going to, you can't be reignited. We can't reignite the squad that we have now, Gav, because to be honest with you, it's all just being glossed over. I think this is a lot harder for people to take. I'll speak on my own behalf. It's a lot harder for me to take because how good we were last year. But I think we're paying the price now for a 60-game season that we had last year, and it's a hangover completely, because I spoke to Steve O'Daly, formerly of this parish, today. I had a good chat with him, and like, if you actually look back to last season, this didn't start in August. This didn't start away to Fulham. This was creeping into the team since March last year. There was a lot of games in the run-in where we were going behind in games and making it difficult for ourselves, and the midfielders looked leggy, and we looked fucking tired, and they haven't added to them. So it's getting to a stage now, Gav, where you can blame the club or the recruitment or whatever it is, but you can only point the finger right now at Jurgen Klopp, because you need to think of what exactly is he doing to mitigate this situation. And it's the same approach every week. We're making the same mistakes. We're going 1-0 behind most weeks. It's a 4-3-3. The defence have no protection. The strikers have no service. So, like, what do you expect? You don't even have to be good to beat Liverpool anymore. Now, if I'm being honest with you, the game was background noise to me yesterday, because I didn't get to see it until today when I looked. But Brighton were well worth that 3 points. They pissed all over us. Like, we were so that we rode our luck all the way in the first half. And that's just the way it's been now, Gav, because the problem is when you're such a well-oiled machine for years and years and years, and everyone is drilled in the same way, and you don't have just 11 players in the squad who know their role. When you have 16, 17 players in the squad that know their role, it just makes it a lot easier for it all to gel and work. There was key cogs in the Liverpool machine that existed, and it was all built on the foundation of that midfield. Now that's gone, Gav. That's completely gone. And we haven't even competed in games. That's the worst thing. So what Klopp needs to do is now find a way to protect what he has, at least make it difficult to play against. You know what I mean? If you can't press them on the edge of their box, fucking sit back, look to hit them on the break, change her up a little bit. We had these conversations in October, November, when we are going into the back end of the group stage of the Champions League, and we needed a few results to get through. And we all said, what are we going to do here to make this change? Like, there's tools in the team that he has there. He doesn't have what he needs to play a Jurgen Klopp 4-3-3. We know that now. We knew that then. You know, it's so fucking hard now. I'm not going to sit here digging out Jurgen Klopp, telling him I want him out. You can criticise a fella, but at the same time believe that he's going to turn around. But I just think it's physically past a couple of these players now doing what's needed of them. And I actually think it's at a stage now where it's unfair on them. Because I'd imagine if you had Jordan Henderson in a room on his own, he'd be happy for someone to go in there and replace him, and Henderson to play half the games in the season. Like, they're not getting any younger midfield. Like, they're all nearly fit now, Gav, and we still don't have what we need. We didn't have what we needed in August. You know what I mean? So I actually think now I'm starting to feel a little bit sorry for some. Now, there is players in that squad that I have no sympathy for. And I won't name them because it's not getting into that. Like, it's not a fucking Brendan Rodgers envelope job. Like, there's just players in the squad. I feel they haven't really done enough for Liverpool when they've been fit. And they're kind of just getting away right now. I feel sorry for the likes of Salah, Gakpo. I feel sorry for Hendo. Thiago now has a target on his back because all of a sudden it's his fault. Like, it couldn't be further from the truth. He's probably the only one in the midfield doing his job. Now, he was horrendous yesterday. But on another hand, he's been playing in midfield on his own for most weeks. Fabinho's been better since he's come back from the World Cup. But again, he's playing in number 6 with 2 weights either side of him who don't know what they're doing. And then you have a back 4 who literally one pass and they're getting attacked. We don't control games anymore. And if you don't control games, you at least have to battle. We don't battle in games anymore. And if you don't battle, you have to rely on moments of magic. And the only one who's provided moments of magic for us this year is fucking Alisson in goal. So that's why we're so far down the table. Now, it's up to Klopp now to dig in, because I'm still looking at the league table going, this is actually salvageable. Like, it's, Gav, people are turning around saying I'm worried about the future of the club. I think that's bollocks. I genuinely believe 2 functional midfielders in the next couple of weeks in this window will get everyone up and running. Honestly, I genuinely do. I think this season could be transformed. I go back to something that I hate the cunt, but I think he makes valid points the odd time. Gary Neville would say, you're never as bad as you think you are. You're never quite as far away as you think you need to go. one or two players can transform a team. Case in point, Casemiro and Eriksen at United this year. Two players in the engine room who have completely transformed their outlay. The forms of Granit Xhaka this year, who has been fucking immense in the Premier League, and Odegaard immense. At the highest level, Gav, games are won and lost in the midfield. Your midfield, if your midfield are combative enough, it will protect your defence enough and give the magic makers up top enough time in the game to weave their magic. The boys are getting no fucking saves yesterday. We were no threat at all to Brighton. No threat at all. We've become a soft touch. And I know, I understand, and I do. I share people's frustrations with the owners and this, that, and the other. And it is hard when you hear Klopp going, it can't be fixed in one window. Yeah, but it can, Jurgen. Could have been done 5 windows ago. We're not asking for 100 million Mudryk. We're not asking for we're not even asking for a 60 million Caicedo now. Just go back to being clever.
Yeah.
Go back to being clever. Bring someone, again, enablers. We need enablers in this team. Yeah, and
I think,
I genuinely, I back Klopp. I think we'll turn it around. I think this is a lot harder to stomach for everyone, just being how good we are. And I'll put my hands up, and I'll only speak for myself. And it's not this isn't an acceptance of mediocrity. I found myself last year when we got beaten in the Champions League final. We went out to watch the game. We lost, and I acted like a fucking complete dickhead. I went home, and I was like, this is ridiculous. I should be enjoying this. And I didn't. And the thing that came to me was, do you know what? There's a little bit of entitlement there at the setting in with me in terms of we're not entitled to win every fucking game. We used to outwork and outrun everybody. We earned the right to be top of fucking European football, Champions League finals year in, year out, going 90-point seasons. No matter what you say, these things were done. But it was built on fucking hard work. It was all built on hard work and technical ability and players rowing in. Who wanted Mane before we bought him? Who wanted Salah before we bought him? Who wanted Genie before we bought him? We got Matip for free. We built the fucking cornerstone and the thing on him. We got Robertson for 8 million from Hull. We've kind of forgotten what got us to the dance. And in the meantime, we haven't really done enough. They haven't done enough. We needed midfielders then. We need them now. We're not going to get them. So it's up to Klopp now to turn it around. But you need to keep fucking supporting the team. Don't be buying into the shit you see on the internet where you're reading stuff on the internet that's not true. And then when it doesn't happen, you get upset. Because it's completely ridiculous when you think about it. I mean it. It's so
how long have we said that?
But the thing is, like, we need
to dig in. There's players trying. People turn around saying they're a fucking disgrace and they're not trying. They're bollocks. They're mentally exhausted. They went to war. Look across the way. City are the same. City are on their knees. If they didn't have a fella who 21 league goals before Christmas, they'd be bollocks.
Yeah, no, like,
City are on their knees. They're only might be 5 point up, but they're nowhere near the level.
No.
They've completely dropped off, and they can turn around.
No, I don't think City are anywhere near that level, and I think, in fairness, I think people are being a little bit unfair in Arsenal because they're going at a serious rate.
Arsenal have been excellent.
Yeah, they're going at a serious rate, but like the way Liverpool and City would be, they'd usually be right with them, if not ahead of them. Even if Arsenal have won 15 and drawn one and or drawn 2 and lost one or something, they could possibly be ahead of them because that's what Liverpool and City do. But you know, you see all this stuff like you know, people questioning Klopp's future and stuff like that, and I'm kind of looking, going, come on, you know. But Emmet, I think what that's born out of again goes back to we're sitting watching Jurgen Klopp, and we don't know where he stands on all this. Because Jurgen Klopp probably, in fairness, he's probably right by not telling us where he stands on it, because you end up opening a whole new kind of worms between him and his employers, let's be honest. But, you know, we look back, Emma, at this summer, and we all said in the summer we needed a midfielder. We all said it, right? And it didn't happen, and we've gone along, and Klopp kind of came out towards the end of that window and said, look, he's probably right and stuff like that, and they went and got Arthur Melo. Now, Arthur Melo's played no football, 13 minutes, I think, away at Napoli. He's played no football. The midfield has got progressively worse, right? And, you know, I'm not saying Van Dijk is being excellent this season. I'm not saying most of them, but you can see where it's coming from. You know, we're afraid to press up front because if anyone gets beyond that, the midfield's being passed around and these boys at the back are being exposed and being attacked very openly, right? But Emmet, we're too 2.5 weeks into January. Now, if the club thought they needed a midfielder at the end of August, at the very end of August, they decided, oh, we do need one, and they get one, and he doesn't fucking play, and you watch this stuff, surely they haven't changed their mind come January the 1st on a midfielder. You know, now I have put it out there, and it's kind of hard to have an opinion on Liverpool and the squad and the owners, because sometimes people just think you're arguing with them. But I kind of look at it in a way where I'm not arguing, I'm kind of playing devil's advocate, because the way they function, and whether you like that or you don't like it, just the way it is, right? But they're probably looking now in midfield going, we've 10 or 11 of these pricks in midfield and we can't get rid of any of them, and in any way we meant to bring in. And that's why I go back to the rootlessness, where you're just going to have to go for his own sake. He has to go. His own sake, he has to be told he's not a first fucking man on the sheet anymore, whoever that might be, pick a name. But Emmet, we're 2.5 weeks in and nothing has changed. It's got worse in midfield with more numbers than we had before Klopp said we don't need midfielders, right? Even though he hasn't played. And here we are talking about midfielders. And I go back to Emmet, they have to identify, and it's right in front of them, what's wrong. But it just seems to be a reluctance on fixing it. And people will say, oh, well, Liverpool do business quietly, and they absolutely do. But they need to do it quicker. You know what I mean? Like, you can do as quiet as you want, but when nothing is happening, you know, something has to be done. Like, or are we all going mad?
No, look, something definitely does have to be done, but you said it there. You're probably looking at the numbers that we actually have, or I don't know where. See, again, is Klopp deciding not to do it, or FSG not allowing him to do it? There's no kind of the waters are kind of muddy there, but it's the actual numbers that we have. So, like, if you go to your boss and say you need something, they'll go, but you have this. Why aren't you using this? Or like he has Artemelo and Keith is back, and you're playing Ox, and it's just, I think it's I don't want to say he needs to get rid of players to get them in, because we all know that that's the way they do it. But the ruthlessness I thought should have been done in January, where we just, I think you've said it as well, is that you just write off Ox and Keith's contract. Just get them off the books. You're free to go, mutual consent, and then just try and get a midfielder in. I honestly thought a midfielder would have been top of the list, and then we signed Gakpo. I'm not disappointed that we signed Gakpo, but it's just like, and you do see people saying it, we need a midfielder and we bought a winger. So you can understand people's frustration. We also, I think Seany said we need 2 in January. I thought we need maybe 1. Keith, I think you said we need 4 in total last week. But definitely 1 in January. But Seany's right. It doesn't need to be a Caicedo. It doesn't need to be a big money name. It just needs to be functional for that midfield. And it's getting more and more frustrating. And I mentioned earlier on with the Klopp apologising to the crowd and him snapping in his press conference the other day, and you kind of get, is his mask slipping with the kind of the right midfielder? I don't particularly like that, by the way, because as soon as you go knocking for the midfielder, they ramp up the price because they know, well, this must be the right midfielder. Something has to change. Something has to change this month. I think it's great if you had a fully fit squad to try different formations, but what we're doing is we're playing like Thiago. I think Chris mentioned it earlier on, and he mentioned it yesterday as well. He kind of played in a 10 role. He's not played in a 10 role for something like 10 years, and he was absolutely lost. So you're putting square pegs into round holes at the moment. And like I said, it looks like he's treading water. But we need something, or else when I don't see top 4 if we don't get something in. And Seany's right. If you look at last January, we weren't particularly doing great. We were 14 points behind City, and we brought in Diaz, and it kind of gave everybody that little bit of a pep in their step, and we went on that run and got within a point of them. So one signing can change this, and kind of give everybody a boost. I'm not going to get on people's backs and say that they're not trying, but I'm not sure whether anybody, and this might be a little bit controversial, I was speaking to Steve Murphy about this earlier on to see if he saw it. At the end of the game yesterday, while Klopp was off apologising, the camera switched to Trent, and he had a bit of a smirk on his face, as though, I don't know whether anybody else saw that. Maybe go back and look at it.
Trent posted then today on Instagram yesterday.
Did
saying,
he? So
yeah, he
somebody
said
else
it's not.
okay.
It's not good enough. We need to sort it out. I don't see any of these players turning on Klopp. No, I don't see that ever being a thing. To be honest with you, I really don't.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't even happen at Dortmund. That didn't happen at Dortmund. The thing at Dortmund was more of a admission for Klopp, more of a resignation, is to say, look, I think I've taken him to the brink. But I think Klopp knows. He does. He knows we're in his heart and hearts. With a little bit more push and a little bit more investment from the owner side, they'll do wonders again. I think he knows that. I think he knows there has the squad of players there. We'll get them all in, we'll row in. And I think he won't even have to wield the axe this summer with some of these fuckers.
It'll naturally happen.
Because they're going.
Yeah, it's gonna naturally happen with 3. But like I said, like we said this a couple of weeks ago when we were looking at the midfield, you know, even if you bring in 3 and lose 3, you have to look at the others that are there and kind of go, well, we're probably going to have to do this again in about 18 months' time, if not before that.
Yeah, but we won't be stuck again. And the thing is, look, we're going to get into it. I think we're going to have new owners for the fucking rebuild. Like, you should never be rebuilding your team, you're challenging for titles. You should only ever be totting it up. But we let it go. We've had this conversation time and time again, so I don't think there's a point of it. Like, it's a load of bollocks, if I'm being honest. If I'm going to be quite frank with it. It's a load of bollocks that in the last 6 windows, Thiago was the only midfielder who fit the right midfielder that we actually went and bought. And then you've a too many and there's no plan B. Now, I don't care how far you are up fucking FSG's arse or whatever side of the fence you sit on. Like, that's unforgivable, in my opinion. That there was that window in the summer for too many. The window that went after, which is this window. And there hasn't been someone identified who can bring the team on. Now, there's a golden egg-laying goose in the corner, not so much an elephant that looks like it could be in the future. And that would go to explaining an awful lot. But it's just so fucking frustrating that the people who have overseen this, and I'm going to say the people because we don't know whether it's Klopp, we don't know whether it's Ward, we don't know whether it's a fucking conglomerate of them all. They have literally wasted a year of Jurgen Klopp. He signed a contract extension. You may as well have told him to go on fucking gardening leave for a year because they haven't given him exactly what he needed. You know what I mean?
I think a fair thing to say is that
the
club as a whole haven't put themselves in the position for what they need. Because like you said, we don't know. And I'm nearly hesitant to say this because when I say it, people go, "Oh, you're fucking making excuses for FSG." I don't give a fuck about FSG. What I'm saying is, if I knew more, if I had Klopp sitting there in front of me going, "Yeah, I do need 2 midfielders. 100% I need 2 midfielders," and midfielders aren't happening, I can easily sit there and go, "Well, he wants them, and he's not fucking getting them." So it's very easy to go down that route. Sorry, Mohammed Abbas with a super chat. He said, "We spent up front, but not midfield. I blame the players over the managers or owners. I feel for Klopp, 2 quality midfielders and our forwards back. I honestly believe Klopp era has more trophies in it."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
100%.
Keith,
can I just say once because I just wanted to say something there. Like, if you go back to Klopp's first full season in charge, right? I can't remember the year. COVID actually fucking played for it. I think that COVID was COVID-19 and it's 2023 now. So I kind of lost all concept of years. I think 2017 is Klopp's first full season, is it?
16, 17.
16, 17. We're top of the league at Christmas, yeah? Going into... Is that true? We are close. It was between us and Chelsea, wasn't it? And Mane goes off to AFCON, all right?
Yeah,
now,
I think we lose. I think we might.
We didn't
lose
score a goal in
Chelsea
January
around that New Year's time. I think.
Yeah. Anyway, they didn't. They gambled then, all right, and the gamble paid off because we were ahead of schedule. We got into. We actually made top 4 on the last day, all right. That was the goal. Then we win the Champions League, and they bring in Harvey Elliott and Adrian and Sepp van der Beek. Now, you can say that's a gamble, but I think if you're looking at it, that squad had enough in it to go and do it again because the year we won the Champions League, we're only a point off winning the double. Yeah, we're a point behind City in the title. Then, after we win the title, they bring in a few players. That's fine. They do enough. I'd say Jota and Thiago, and they probably should have got a centre half to replace Lovren, right? Didn't happen. Ended up in a fucking disaster situation. They have gambled so many times, these owners. They've rolled the dice time and time again, and Klopp bailed them out. And they rolled the dice again this summer by not getting a midfielder. And fuck me, what paying dividends with now. This has nothing got to do with injuries. It's just literally got to do with the personnel we have, unable to carry out the tasks that they usually do. So, again, I don't want these fuckers gambling with the greatest manager we ever had in my lifetime. I don't want these fuckers gambling. I want him being backed. Klopp is...
I don't want him gambling either, though, Shawnee.
Yeah, but I'd say he's not... Klopp is all about fucking... He's all about harmony. He's not going to rock the boat with the owners no matter how he feels. He probably goes home to Owlet and burns the ears off after 2 hours going, these fucking bastards won't give me he'll never do it in public. Never. He might even do it. Van Dijk has pressed it a little bit in the last couple of times he's been interviewed, and he was like, yeah, well, we could always do with more quality and this and that and the other. And he said at the World Cup, yeah, it'd be nice to know what's going on in terms of the takeover. There's nothing we can do, but hopefully it's sorted. So obviously it's something that wears on the players. I just hope the players can all row in behind each other and do all they can, because looking at the teams that's ahead of us, we can catch them all. I mean, and I'm being serious. With a little bit of help and a little bit of chopping and changing, they can catch them all. One midfielder even. Someone who can just allow the others to do that fucking job. And it looks like it's not happening now because of timing, because we're obviously going to get on to it later, but maybe something's happening in the background.
Well, Jamrock says we lost one midfielder and lost 4 forwards and bought 4. So, you know what, I think he's saying when one comes in, one comes out and all that sort of stuff. But Keith, the Cody Gakpo thing, right? You know, Liverpool are probably looking at going, Jota's an issue with Jota. There's an issue with Luis Diaz, right? Diaz is meant to be March. Jota is meant to be around the same time, right? You've got Firmino, who he's out of contract at the end of the summer or at the end of the season, and nothing. There was a lot around just before Christmas, but it's gone very quiet on that. And Cody Gakpo comes up, and Liverpool see an opportunity and go, you know what? We need someone now, and we might need someone in the future. It's well worth doing, and they do it, right? And that's absolutely fine. And, you know, Emmet says that Diaz comes in last season and it's like, you know, it gives everyone a lift. And there is players there that look lost. There is players there that look like they don't have the legs. And it's a bit Groundhog Day, or here we fucking go again. We have to go and play this system, and it's the same fellas, and they're probably getting sick of looking at fucking each other at this stage, right? How much would a signing be, not just for on the pitch and getting legs in there, like even the likes of that lad Thuram at 30 million euros, right? Anyone, how big a lift could it be, Keith? Right? Both in what we can have in midfield, but not only that, what it could do for everyone else around them that might have got comfortable in their position, and you kind of go, oh, hold on a minute, there's a fucking fella in here now, and I might be fucking playing every week. Although playing on this side is probably a fucking penance at the moment. But just that, like the lads have said, just that little burst it gives everyone, where he goes, there's a new player in the door, everyone gets excited, you know, and he comes in, he's all energy, he wants to improve, and you get 6 months out of him where he's integrating into the side. It just makes sense across the board, doesn't it?
Yeah, but the worry has to be the right player, and I think you touched on that gives the energy. For example, we can't go out now and sign Sander Berg and expect that to give the energy that this team needs. If you look at Liverpool down the years, and from Klopp's era at Liverpool, and you look at who was the first catalyst in his team, Adam Lallana. Now, Adam Lallana fucking ran rings around us yesterday. Adam Lallana was the one that ran like a bollocks and everyone followed him. Roberto Firmino runs and presses like a madman and everyone follows him. It's not going to take 4 midfielders in this window to fix this. It's one player in my opinion, and I know fuck all, right? So one player can fix it, but it has to be a midfield player with energy, because if you bring in, I'm not going to bang on about Caicedo because he's the one I like the most, but you know, if you bring in a player like that, of that profile, that will run, that has energy. And if you're on the team and you see one fella chasing after Blade and lost causes, remember Robertson done it against Man City in his first year, wasn't it? And he chasing over to the other side. And the crowd got a lift. The team we were good then. Like the team was giving a lift and all that. And that's all it could take is a little spark like that. We don't have the players to do that. We don't literally have a midfielder in the squad now that can do that. Do you know what I mean? There's none of them. None of them has the energy to do that now. And no one's going to follow. Like, what are they going to follow? Jordan Henderson crawling around the pitch. Fabinho, while he is better, is not fast. Thiago, lovely player. We're biggest Thiago fans around. We are on this show. But doesn't have the legs. You need someone in there that has to be a player that can run and can press and can hardy. Because if you give that spark, Diaz last season... Gakpo isn't going to be that for me because he's not that type of player. But Diaz was a little tigerish, little run around. You know what I mean? He was sort of edge of the seat, got you up and was all action. And if you see a player doing that, that rejuvenated the squad and gave them that little kick and pushed them on for the end of last season. It has to be the right player. It has to be a player with energy. We know Jamrock's point that, one midfielder goes out, one comes in, 4 forwards go out, 4 forwards come in. That's fine. But...
And people in the chat are saying, we need 3 midfielders, but we're not going to get 3 midfielders in the next 2 weeks.
No,
we're simply not. We you're right what you're saying. We need 3, and that's simply because 3 look like they leave the club, so you need to bring 3 in to recuperate those numbers. You could actually go further than that. I think Liverpool probably need to sign 5, if not 6 midfielders in the next 18 months.
Well, you see, what I think it is, right, we look at the makeup of this midfield now, and the reality is, right, Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott, 2 young players, they're getting a lot of stick. If you bring in, let's say, 2 midfielders, right, because unless we get new owners, it's not going to be a big, massive rebuild. But let's say, for example, we'll throw in he who shall not be named, Jude Bellingham. And we throw in one other, right? We throw in one other with that, right? If you're bringing in 2 high-level players, you're going to lose Ox, you're going to lose Keita, you're going to lose Milner, you're going to lose Arthur Melo. But I don't think you need to bring in 4 to replace that 4. It'd be a sad day. It'd be a sad day. It's just to make the numbers up to 4, But you're going to lose them, right? But I don't think you need to bring in 4. If you bring in 2 players that are going to become centerpieces of your midfield, and you put a Thiago alongside them or a Fabinho, and you have players there that can play. The problem with our midfield is they're not robust enough in the main part. So Ox, Keita, all these lads, Mello, Milner. I wouldn't be surprised if he got a new deal. Henderson, not robust enough. And the problem is you get one, they'll come out, you lose a midfielder, and then you're looking at Bajcetic again, and you're looking at scratching your head at possibly recalling Tyler Morton from loan, and you're in bleeding trouble. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you can bring in... They're not going to bring in 4, but if they bring in 2 of the right players, and then what they should have been doing, and we've said all along, is they should have been bringing in 1 in the summer. Bring in 1 the summer before that. Do you know what I mean? And build your future-proof your midfield that way. They don't know with the other areas of the team, but they've ignored the midfield. So I just think 1 player will get it. 1 player will change that team now in January.
Well,
but it has to be the right player. It has to be the right player.
PMAX says there 2 is the minimum now, not in the summer now. It's not. No, I can't see that happening. And listen, I'll take 3 now, right? Yeah. I'll take fucking 3 now, no problem. When you get beyond this season and if you bring in 3 midfielders, you're still going to have to look at Henderson, Fabinho, Thiago, because of age, form, whatever bracket you want to put them in. You're going to have to look at, is Elliott a midfielder, right? Or can he excel with more fucking legs around him? I don't know. You're going to have to look at Jones. Is he too injury prone? Does he get into this squad? You're going to have to look at loads. Even if you bring in 3, you're going to have to look at whatever's left there, right? On top of that 3, you're going to have to question for different reasons over the next year, 18 months from now, I think. There's no doubt about it. Darius Hyde's put a super chat in and it's led me on brilliantly, so thanks. And this is what I'm going to ask you, okay? I have 2 questions to come for both of you, or the 3 is. 2 questions for the 3 is before we leave, right? By the way, We need 237 likes in this show, the top 600 or across 2 shows, which means that Kieran Thorne will pay up his £600 towards our charity thing. He told us to pick 4 shows over the month. We want to do it in 2 shows over 2 days, because we really want to get this money in and start rolling for breast cancer. But if you keep hitting the like button, there's 600 people watching. So if you smack that like button because you like it or you want to help charity for either reason, doesn't bother us. Hit the like button, please. Get us to, I think it's 237, something along that lines. Anyway, here's the super chat from Darius. He says, okay, let's say we don't sign anyone in this window, which is entirely possible, he says. What then, right? And I'm not even reading that. It's blocked on my screen. I'm just doing it from memory. But, Sean, I'll come to you, right? You don't sign anyone, you get one, whatever it might be, okay? What do we have to do as players? What do we have to do as a manager? Because forget the owners for a minute. If no one's going to be signed, it's down to the manager, it's down to his assistant, the staff, and these players. What do they need to do between now and the end of the season to get Liverpool as high as they can in this table, or go as far as they can in the European competition, or wherever it might be? What do they need to do? And I'm going to ask all 3, but I'll start with Shawnee.
I think Klopp needs to come up with a system to protect the troubled areas of the squad, like i.e. the midfield. He needs to come up with some sort of system where maybe it's, I think formations can be overstated, but maybe a 4-2-3-1 where he has Thiago and Fabinho sitting, and then he has someone like a Carvalho or Elliot running around in a number 10, which are positions more suited to them. And just like teams lining up, going, okay, what are we doing here? What sort of setup are Liverpool coming with this week? We need to become a team that's hard to play against again. Great, that's hard to build up. That'll come with results. We developed that at the back of the run when we won 10 in a row when all the players were injured. We started to find ways to win again. Alisson had turns the season on its head after a couple of good results. People saying we're 10 points off United. Honestly, I don't even think it's a big gap. I think there's going to be double game weeks all over the place. There's going to be swings. We just have to start winning games. And it sounds simple, but it can happen. It genuinely can happen. And you need to think of Newcastle as well. What's their sort of pedigree? So we need to continue to look forward. But I do think Klopp's biggest task now is, if nobody comes in, finding a system that protects the midfield and that allows the forward players a fucking chance to get into the game. So that's what I'd look to do. We play Wolves on Tuesday. I'm being deadly serious with you. I couldn't give a bollocks about it. But Chelsea, I think, is Chelsea next to Anfield. Am I right?
12:30 next Saturday, I think.
Yeah. But when I see 11:30, I wake up 11:30 Saturday morning, I want to look at the out and go, what's the story here with the lineup? What way are we lining up? I don't want to see 4-3-3 anymore because it's clearly not working. Not with what we have. It's not going to start working. These players aren't going to magically get legs. That's the problem. This is not an ability thing. It's a physicality issue. So what you need to do is fucking provide a system for these players and change it up. He's got to change it up because 4-3-3 is clearly not working. And it's infuriating to watch because teams just fucking cut through us like hot butter. And when we get the ball, it's like a hot potato. We've no control in games anymore. And that's what we need. We need Klopp to find a way. Because it's not all of a sudden that these are all shy players. We still got fucking best in class in the world. In some of, they're out of form, of course. But this can be easily turned around. With a body in the window. I do. But if that doesn't happen, it's back to the drawing board with Klopp and find a way to give these wild card players like Salah and Nunez and Gakpo now and Carvalho and Elliot, give them a platform to fucking perform. What do we have to lose at this stage? Let's be honest. Seriously.
No, we're sitting around 9th in the table.
Exactly.
I think we've a game in hand, I think, on Newcastle. So, you know, you have
2
to
on
put...
Fulham.
What?
We've 2 in hand over Fulham, who are miles ahead of us as well.
Yeah, no, but you look at the top 4, you have a game in hand, I think, over Newcastle. But again, you're 10 points or whatever off them. But 7 sounds a lot better than 10. You know what I mean? We have just over half the season to go. Jamrock with a super chat says, Jurgen Klopp repeatedly says he won't force any players out. There was another super chat in there as well from Cam J. He says, Thiago on his debut broke the record for passes made with his given goals and through balls. Man's now running and pressing all over the pitch with coaching. We've discussed this loads. You know, when you have a player like Thiago, I'm not saying Thiago can't press a football or press a player, but you have to complement it around him, and the eyes probably come off that midfield with that regards to that. And I think, in fairness, Matt was trying to bring that point across on Thursday, and I think a lot of people, probably because of what way Matt put it, took him completely the wrong way. But when he was talking to me before the show, he was trying to tell me, no, look, if you do Thiago, you have to make sure that all the other bits that go with him are top of their game. And we made a mistake you've made a mistake in signing Thiago if you're going to let this happen over here. That's what I think he was trying to do on Thursday night. But Emma, is Seany bang on? Do you find the system? Do you just literally make it a siege mentality? You go back and look at 2021 when we were struggling with injuries, and we just kind of got it in, and we just went, this is the way we're fucking playing, and we're doing it for 6 months and fuck it. You know what I mean? Is that where we need to go with this?
100%. Like, man for man, if you look at those 2 lineups yesterday, that team, our team should be beating that team every single day of the week. We have the players. Okay, they might be bollocks at the moment, but look, you mentioned, and I had to drop off there for a sec. Elliot is getting dogs because he's been played in the midfield. He wasn't bought to play in midfield. I think him and Carvalho were probably bought with the 4-2-3-1 formation probably in mind. But because of injuries and other things, Elliot is being deployed in midfield. And that's why he's getting dogs abuse. I think Klopp might be scared off after the first half yesterday, and he'll probably revert to type and go back to 4-3-3 next week. Because we were talking about it in the Telegram yesterday when the match was going on, and I thought it was a 4-2-3-1, and then somebody, I think it was Kevin, said it was a 4-4-2, and then I think it was, I can't remember who else it was, it was a 4-2-2. Whatever it was wrong. And it was probably the people that they play. I wouldn't have started Hendo. I probably would have started Fabinho and Thiago, and then I would have had maybe Elliot, Salah, Gakpo, or somebody else in the 3. I wouldn't have had Thiago in the 10. I think he was absolutely wasted. But yeah, we need to find. You could use Tuesday. I think Klopp would be as happy to write off Tuesday as we would. Use that to play players that maybe wouldn't necessarily play, and change your formation. See how it goes. It's a one-off game, and if you go out, big fucking deal, and with a view to what you're going to do going forward for the rest of the season. We spoke last week about Carvalho. I don't know whether he's just been pulled back from the team. He hasn't been brought on. He's been in squads all right, but we don't know what's going on there. But I would just use Tuesday as a kind of an experiment, let's say, and try and see, maybe go again with where he went yesterday, but maybe with different personnel in different positions, because yesterday definitely didn't work, and I thought Thiago being in the 10 was a waste. He should have been in with Fabinho in the 2. But it's get to the end of the season. Look, I agree with Seany. If one player can turn it around, 10 points isn't. There's people in the chat saying it's an awful lot. It's an awful lot with the way we're playing, but in the grand scheme of things, 10 points isn't an awful lot.
Yeah, it's an awful lot of you are chasing a Man City team that just fucking relentlessly won all the time. But there's a mishmash of lad teams in their area, I think, and now they're probably looking at us going, where fucking spend force. Don't buy into it all.
No,
we can turn it around. These did not.
I would say most of them clubs around them, United and Newcastle included, are probably looking, going, this is a huge chance for us, because these probably won't be this bad again. Because Liverpool in fairness, over the course with Klopp, you know, they've been fucking excellent, and they're probably looking as a bit of surprise. And the same with City. You know, someone saying there City are only a point better off than us over the last 10 games or something like that. Something mad, which doesn't feel like that. It feels like City have dropped points in maybe 2 or 3 games, and it's hurting because of their level. Whereas we're just dropping points in fucking every game.
We
really.
would have to be shit the same year their shit, wouldn't we?
But
That
listen,
happens.
but it doesn't.
One of the
but the thing
1 point
is, like,
seasons.
But the thing is, like, Arsenal have replaced City with the form they're in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's going to be still be a hard league to win, and I don't think it's a great league. I don't think it is anyway. But Arsenal, I hope Arsenal go on and win it. To be honest with you, because anybody bar City for me. But
What about United?
Or Leicester, because I couldn't fancy that fucker winning the league. But Keith, you know, going back to basics, doing this, doing that, and like I said yesterday, when I'm watching that game, I'm looking at going, why are the front three 40 yards away from this midfield again?
Yeah,
We're wandering around and trying to interchange while they're pressing, and then when a pass goes into, and Brighton knew what they were doing. Brighton were just going, just pop it there nice and slow, and then bang, one into midfield, and then Saicedo turns or whoever turns, and it's like, well, where's the next one? Because when the next pass goes, this is where we're going to trigger everything. And you know, we can go back to basics, Keith, and we can put more fellas in the middle of midfield, but we've 3 of them in there. How many more do you want to put in the middle of midfield? And Shawnee's touched on something where we didn't look a threat, you know, but to me, it was all about being compact, and loads of people said don't play the high line and stuff like that, and I kind of get that, but if you're going to drop off as a team, you drop off as a team. You can't put your attacking 3 up there running around after their full-backs and after their centre-halves, and then massive gaps in midfield, and they're just picking you apart. Keith, do we just go back to where we just make this pitch smaller, where we just get so compacted we make it smaller, and then we have to trust ourselves in the likes of Salah or whoever that we can go and hurt teams from there? Because right now, I thought the front three just looked completely lost yesterday as to, do we press, do we come back and help? And then you had full-backs like Trent going to go into midfield to try help or push up onto that line in midfield, then kind of going, oh no, I won't. And it was just, they seem very unsure of themselves. They seem very hesitant in everything they're doing, and making it very simple makes it easier for players to kind of follow that fucking instruction. Do you agree? Is that where we go?
Are you trying to say Trent into midfield is the answer to this?
No, I just found a lot yesterday where when Brighton were literally setting this trap, you could see Trent edging, and when he edged so far and Brighton made that pass, then you could see Trent going, well, I'm here now, do I fucking stay on this line with Fabinho and whoever, or do I drop back into, you know?
It's one of them, you know. At the end of the day, I agree that the formation can't stay as it is, and you can't play the high line if you're not going to press like fuck, right? We're not pressing, so we can't play a high line. We have to go back to basics. We have to go back to heavy metal football nearly that Klopp played, that was just a bit more, and that's, I nearly want us to be a bit more conservative, but maybe it is longer balls, high balls, let the forward run onto it. I mean, Mohammed Salah, I think he's been dreadful lately, but it's probably not down to him. It's part of a system that's not working, and he's not getting the service that he needs. But he's one of the fastest players in the league. Darwin Núñez is the fastest player in the league. Cody Gakpo doesn't look that fast. I don't think he's that fast. But we have players with pace. So try and use them. We're not utilising what little strengths we have. I mean, Núñez, when he's playing, is the only bright spark at the moment for me. And that's missing. He's missing blade and hat loads of chances. But he's making stuff happen. And we don't have anyone else that's making things happen. The formation, the 4-3-3 can't stay because the lads we don't have the personnel. And it's a simple, and look, I'm not telling Jurgen Klopp how to coach and set up a team, but we spoke about this in the summer when we signed Carvalho, that I can't see where they fit into a 4-3-3. So it looks like we're going to switch to the 4-2-3-1. And when you look at the situation we're in now, you've got the difference of a 4-2-3-1 and 4-3-3. Yeah, you still have the same personnel probably in there, but you'd have, instead of Fabinho sitting as the pivot, you'd have 2 of them in there. So you'd be a bit more solid in front of the defence, in front of the back 4. You'd have another lad, instead of, let's say, Harvey Elliott. Let's use Harvey Elliott for an example here because he could push up maybe. You'd have him up on the 10 instead of having to watch what Trent is doing, because The young fella isn't a midfield player. We know they switched him there last season before he'd done his ankle in. He was doing really well. He's done really well in games where he's been exposed as well, because he doesn't have that defensive nous. So I don't see why putting him out there in what, for me, is the most pivotal part of that midfield when you have a player like Trent. You can't have a young fella that doesn't do the defensive work. Now, I think Elliott would probably work better on the left side of the tree if he was playing, because he's not having to babysit when Trent is going forward. Knowing when Henderson done it for years, he has to tuck in. He doesn't have it in his game. He can't do that. But if you put him in a 10, he doesn't have that responsibility, or he doesn't have that hindrance to his game. Carvalho, the same. I think Gakpo would work better wide or in a 10 in that format. You know, the personnel we have seems to me, and look, Klopp sees them every day in training, but it seems to me like it'd work better in a 4-2-3-1. Fabinho and Thiago in your midfield, you can take one out for a rest, put in Henderson, take one out, put in Keith, and they just play that little two-man midfield instead of one holding midfielder. And I don't care how good he is, and I don't care how good Thiago is or Hendo is, teams are walking through us. Do you know what I mean? They only have a couple of passes and they're through. Fabinho's not protecting the back four. He's not offering any protection. And I'm a big Fabinho fan. I think he'll get his form back. He's starting to look a bit better than he was, because he was absolutely gashed before Christmas. But the change if we're not going to bring in a player, which I think we all sort of want, but if it's not going to happen, then there has to be a change in the formation. You know, against Leicester, the goal against Leicester that Dewsbury Hall scores, like, is one of the worst goals I've seen against us. Right, there's been goals like Alisson's one against Wolves was just a personal howler. Yeah, man just walked through the bleeding whole midfield and then was bearing down on the defence, and he's in on goal. Like, this is in the second minute of the game or something, and he's just bleeding waltzing through. It wasn't like they were there for 60 minutes and a bit leggy, or it just fucking walked through the team. There's no shape to Liverpool. There's no formation. There's no stability or solidity there. And you have to, if you can't buy players, you have to do something with what you have. And
there's an argument out there as well. You know, maybe there's an argument we have where we just go, do you know what? No, we're not. We're going to move right up the pitch, and we're going to play that way. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I find most of the time Liverpool, when they have an issue, is they're neither one nor the other.
Yeah.
You know, we're not pressing as a unit, and they get played around midfield, right? And even sitting back there yesterday, it was like, yeah, well, we're not okay. We held out till half time, 0-0, but it wasn't like it was easy. You know, when this is a well marshalled fucking 10 players out there on outfield players, and you know it was 0-0, but we're not threatening. It was ropey and not threatening. You know,
Kanate's pace is a huge get out for us.
But when you have a team stretched out so much, it makes the spaces that your midfielders have to cover bigger, right? Now, if you sit deep, it makes them smaller, but if you push really high, which Liverpool predominantly have done over the last 4 or 5 years, it also makes the areas you have to cover smaller. But you have to trust the fellas at the back. If you're really high and you're really compressed and you're making the pitch small in their half, you have to trust the fellas at the back to do something. And that's where the issue is. Huh?
You can't have a high line we can't play a high line because our players can't press.
But this is what I'm saying. We get caught in between. I find we get caught in between loads where there's a high line. There's fellas, you know, they're on the halfway line, for argument's sake. The fellas up front are right in on top of these defenders. And instead of the midfield being up behind them, they're standing too close to their fucking defence. So there's this big space.
They haven't got the legs to press anymore.
Yeah, I know, but listen, I'm not telling you they should do it, but people could come up with the argument and say, well, if you're going to make the pitch small, i.e., like where their 10 players are on that pitch, further back here, do it further up there, because it's not working either way.
Working now with a fucking simple 15-yard pass from the centre half, because Henderson and Fabinho and Thiago have become so easily turned. Mm-hmm. It seems like every time there's a 50-50 battle in the midfield, the boys are getting rolled.
Yeah.
What, like, if you're the defender, what the fuck are you gonna do? Mm-hmm. Your natural reaction.
There was one piece yesterday though.
That point dropping back. Whereas when we were if we lost the duel, the fucking 90% chance we are winning the second ball.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like yesterday, Seany, you're talking about lack of threat. And there was one stage yesterday in the first half where Brighton were on the attack. Brighton were on
Threat
the...
is always there with players like Salah and Gakpo and Nunez.
But this is what I'm saying. You need your midfield and sometimes your defenders to play and keep a cool head in order to, fulfill that threat and get the ball to you. Like there was one there yesterday where Brighton are playing it around, and they're looking quite dangerous. And Liverpool managed to get attacking. I think it might have been Matip, and it falls to Henderson, right? And Henderson looks up around them, right? And Salah could be played down the right channel. Just play it down or play it to his feet, and he hooks this ball 45 yards diagonally out towards Oxlade-Chamberlain with it up against a massive centre half in the air, and I'm kind of going, surely that's not the fucking right ball on there. Right, it's less risky because you're just putting it out there and hoping something happens rather than trying to get into Salah's feet. But there was no foundation for us trying to attack yesterday. But look, we're on to Tuesday, isn't it, against Wolves, and we'll be covering that game Tuesday night after it and stuff like that. We'll have loads coming during the week as we did last week. And last week's, I thought the stuff we put out last week was excellent, so hopefully we'll do the same this week. But before we finish, because we've only a couple of minutes, right? This stuff about Qatar and possible takeover and stuff like that. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I read nothing about it, right? Because I haven't seen a quote from anyone. I haven't seen it. I go back to it. I haven't seen anyone come out and say this is definitely happening. It just seems to be Qatar is this week, like America was last. But Keith, I'll come to you first. Have you read anything on it? Is it just a load of Arabic writing on your Twitter feeds that's taking your fancy?
It's a load of.
And if anyone in the chat, by the way, can fill us in.
It's basically some journalist or something, is it, that's come out, and I think he's a huge following, 500,000 followers or something like that, coming out saying that Qatar will be prioritising a bid for Liverpool. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Says it's coming from Qatari sources.
Yeah, it's a couple of journalists or something are saying it. Just from a quick look, they whoever this Qatari is the name of the account or something, that's the source, and he seems to have a lot of followers. It could be Qatar the country, I don't know. Maybe it's the Qatar the country. It's the head of them, but it seems to be credible. I mean, at the end of the day, right, we're talking about a £4 billion transaction here, and realistically, who's going to be buying that? So you're looking at American ownership, or you're looking at Middle East ownership, whether it be Qatari or whatever else, whatever other countries it is. Now, it was rumoured that was QSI, who own PSG, that were going to be bidding for Liverpool or looking for a stake, and that got poo-pooed. And they're looking at Spurs as well now, but this apparently now you're looking at other Qatari investments. I don't know. To me, it probably is going to be Qatar, but you've lads telling you that it's going to be America. It's lads telling you it's going to be Qatar. Nobody knows. Do you know what I mean? No one has a fucking clue. It's like transfers. Who knows? Like, it could be sold to Bladen. Who was your man that tried to buy us and didn't have a bean, and he went and bought Wolves? Steve Morgan.
Yeah, Kevin Sullivan says it cannot be QSI unless they're buying a minority stake.
There's ways around that.
Yeah.
Paul Gormley says apparently the spirit of Shankly are trying to stop it. Good luck with that, lads. John says I'd take any news on any new owners. Sorry, I've had enough of FSG. Well, that's where me and you disagree.
Yeah,
John. Sam says I think a lot of Qatari sources are saying it's done, but I think it's probably advanced but not done yet. Similar to most of our transfers, sources from abroad will know first if something happens, in my opinion, says Sam. Shawnee, what do you make of this? Is this just Liverpool have lost the game? There's nothing happening transfer wise, and then Qatar are going to buy them, because it seems to be that sort of, that's the rhythm we get into with regards to it.
Again, bleeding. A spoonful of salt. Never mind the pinch. You take all these.
Jamrock says it's QIA, Qatar Investment Authority, who is the sovereign wealth fund.
Yup, oh boy.
I think it's disgusting. But anyway.
777's all over the screen. Jackpot. I don't give up bollocks, Gav. I'm not going to sit here giving you some sort of speech about what's right in football. This is the way the game is going. Get off the train. Good luck. That's the way it is. Shit, I got off the pot now. Look at the fucking money that crowd Chelsea are spending. Look, they spent $500 million since your man's come in. Not even in a year. The game is gone completely out of control. There's absolutely no way we compete anymore under this model. We have reached a capacity under the FSG model, and it's been lovely. They've done wonderful things on and off the pitch. The infrastructure of the club, it's the best bet if you're looking to buy a big club in the world at the moment. It really is. I don't think it sells itself. I'd take anyone because, look, that's just me being honest. Like, people are gonna lie and say they wouldn't support us anymore. Well, look, if you're getting enough tickets, send them over my way because I'll take them. That's the way I see it. The reason why, Gab, I'm just resigned now that this is the direction football is going. FFP doesn't exist. Messi won the bleeding the World Cup, and they were throwing bleeding biscuits over him with some sort of symbolism. Sports washing, the game is sports washed. It's done. And you're either in or you're out. And if I'm being honest with you, look at how shite this season has been. I would much rather be in than out because I don't want to watch Liverpool scrapping for 4th, 5th and 6th. Season in, season out. I want to see us competing for the top fucking titles every year because I've become enamoured to that. I love it. It's like drugs. I've become spoiled. I've become
You're an
spoiled.
addict.
My team is doing it all. I want to be in them conversations. We're not going to be in these conversations with FSG at the helm, and that's not their fault. They just don't view it the same way we do. It's been a brilliant investment for them. It's been an absolutely phenomenal investment for them. They've put Liverpool back on the map in so many ways, regardless what you can say. They've been brilliant owners, but I think we're at a capacity now under FSG. If you told me FSG were going to fucking loosen up the belt a little bit and put 100 million quid extra a year of their own money in, I'd be all for that.
Yeah.
If you told me American owners were going to come in and do that, I'd be all for that. But it's been so many windows, hoping on hope. We're told it's next summer all the time. It's COVID, the Nike money will be in, this, that, and the other. We're always one short. And I'd rather have one too many than one too few. And that's the way it's been under FSG for large parts. Now, we've won
The
everything.
Nike money, we'll be back to Warrior in this, right? Won't we, for fuck's sake?
Yeah,
Nike running ship.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend, look, you can virtue signal all you want, but you're a lying bastard if you say you lose sleep about these human rights things and all. You'd be a lying box. I'm wearing a Nike top. I paid €50 for it. It was probably made for about 25 cents.
You've blood on your hands.
The iPhone I'm using was probably made in some sweatshop in China for about fucking $12. So if you want to look into that, if you're going to go through every single owner with a fine comb, they'll all have links to these shits. Fucking, we were off doing pre-season yokes in Qatar. We done it just there after the World Cup when we weren't doing them for free. Do you know what I mean? So, pick your poison, fellas. You either fucking, what did he say? You die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villains. And that's exactly now what's happening to FSG. The people are starting to turn on them. And it's people like me who would have been on the fence and would have probably, I'd say, I would have, like, I don't agree with the extremism and some of the shit that they'll be coming out with saying that they bought bleeding hockey teams, the money they made off Liverpool. That's bollocks. They've done wonders for the club, but I want them to move on now and solidify their legacy, because whatever it is, they've done fucking great work. But you've got to fucking spend money to compete in these leagues. And if you don't, look.
Dylan O'Rourke said it in the chat there. The Spanish Super Cup was played in Saudi Arabia tonight.
Yeah, and look, I wouldn't disrespect anyone who turns around and goes, I'm walking away from football if I bought by this shite, that shite, or the other shite. Look, It is what it is. Look what FSG were going to do. They were throwing the whole fucking integrity of the sport to go in to the Super League to compete with these lads. That's worse. That's worse for me. That's damaging the sport as well. But that's the way football is going. You're either on or you're off. And I'd say at the moment now, you're kind of bullshitting yourself if you think FSG can continue with this model.
I think
They
I
can't.
think you're right on FSG with regards to with this model. I think the model they have is very, very good. But I think you're right. I don't disagree in any way with football has moved on and this model, unless, like you said, my dream scenario is that. My dream scenario is that not dream.
I'm not justifying it. That's just the world you live in.
Well, you see, I see it differently to you because my preferred scenario, I suppose, would be FSG come out and put an extra 100 million in a year, or somebody takes the club off FSG and puts 100 million in a year. That's my preferred thing, right? Being state owned, I am completely and utterly against, because for me, these clubs that have been state owned allow this to happen because they want to be relevant, and Liverpool don't need to be bought over and used by a state to put money in to promote this state and be relevant. Liverpool don't need that. Yes, Liverpool need money. Like if someone comes out of Qatar or comes out of anywhere and says, I'm buying, or our company are buying Liverpool Football Club and we are going to put in this amount of money, fine. Absolutely fine. Just don't want Qatar, the country, buying them. That's all. That's all I want. Like, and at the end, and I don't want to get into a massive debate over it. You'll take whoever. Loads of people will take whoever. But for me, as a Liverpool fan, as a fan of Liverpool Football Club and what they stand for, and people will say, oh, well, what they stand for? This is the way football's gone. I completely get that. But what you're looking at with regards to Man City and Newcastle is two clubs that done fuck all, right? They've done fuck all, right? They needed to be relevant. They needed money in because they couldn't do it themselves, and they went down this line, and that's where they went. Liverpool aren't like that. Liverpool are a completely different entity to both those clubs, right? And for us, and FSG can't do it. I'm absolutely fine if FSG can't do it. Go and find someone else that'll do it, right? But to go, my big thing about this is that if you think all these people, you know, are out there that go, oh, you know, I'll just take it, whatever, right? If you think they aren't giving out about Man City over the last 5 or 6 years, or have started giving out about Newcastle over the last 12 months, they have. But now when this comes up that Liverpool might be done, it's like, oh, well, you know, that's the, you know, and the football is going that way. Don't get me wrong. I think 2025 is going to be a massive watershed in football because they've set it up for these teams to do what they like come 2025. That's the truth of the matter. But for me, as a football club, a proper football club that's built on whatever you've seen over the last 130 odd years, right? We don't need this sort. We don't need to go that extreme to stay relevant or compete. We just don't. Those clubs did. We don't.
I agree 100%. But there's not many will have the money to buy Liverpool.
Oh no, I completely get that.
So
I completely get
it's
that.
kind of literally like what fucking. It's a product of our own doing now at this stage. It's unavoidable. Look, if you it can't be avoided. People turn around and said they weren't going to watch the World Cup. It was in Qatar. You're all lying bastards. You all watched the best World Cup final you've ever seen.
Yeah, but that wasn't down to Qatar.
Yeah, people are saying we were in the United Arab Emirates. Fuck me, lads. Jesus Christ, tomato. Let's be honest. These people, they're in the same part of the world. And they have the same views on a lot of the fucking things. Let's be honest. Like, you know what I mean? If you want to be a bastion of morality, watch cricket or something. Because I watch American sports that haven't been sports watched yet.
I completely get that.
You're a fan of boxing, the biggest fights are going to be in Saudi Arabia. If you're a WWE fan at the moment, you're obviously going through fucking hell. Now, that's made up stuff. But people are still... has a fucking avid fan base, and that's some of the most under the table stuff I've ever seen in my life. What's going on there? So it's the way it is. Like, I know people who are turning around saying they were boycotting the World Cup, and in the same breath they were texting me, asking me was I watching X player, Y player, and I'm like, going, you're fucking painting this picture on Twitter that you're not doing this and you're bashing morality, but you all sat glued to that World Cup final, and I'm guilty. I'm a hypocrite. I'm a football fan. We're all fucking hypocrites. That's what it is. You look like a tick every so often. That's what happens. If you're talking of shit, you'll be right every now and again. That's just the way it is. I don't know what other way it's going to go for Liverpool. I'd rather be owned by Qatar than someone like Todd Bowley who'll run your club into the ground.
Listen.
Chelsea will be.
I'm not saying that a state come in and wouldn't run a football club well. I'm not saying that for a minute, because with that amount of money you have, you'll run it well, and you'll have the financial power to pull yourself out of any issue, right? But it's just, for me, as a football club of Liverpool size, stature, history, the whole lot, right? And you can't just and I get where football's going, and sometimes it's hard for me to kind of put this out in the right way. But I just look at all these clubs that are gone down that route, and it really fucking bugs the shit out of me that we're having to pull ourselves into line literally with 2, 3, 4 clubs on this planet, right? Everyone has to pull into line with these 3 or 4 clubs instead of these 3 or 4 clubs being pulled back. But money talks. With money talks, I get that. That's the way we are, and it's not only in football; it's in politics, it's in everything. Money talks, right?
Blame UEFA.
Listen, there's plenty to blame. But genuinely, I would rather watch Liverpool with an owner that is going to put more money in than watch Liverpool that have just decided that, listen, they're doing that. We've given out about it for fucking nigh on 10 years with one club in particular. But do you know what? Fuck it, well, let's just go and do what they're doing anyway. And that's what I think gets me the most. The fact that we are going to lower ourselves to a Man City from 2008 or a Newcastle from 2020. We're going to lower ourselves to that. And people can go on about wanting to win, and people can go on about wanting trophies and wanting everything else, and that's absolutely fine if that's what you're in it for. And that's what most people are in it for. Winning trophies, memories, all that sort of stuff. But for me, Liverpool won a title in 1920. Didn't get to celebrate because of COVID, right? I promise you, and this is not me bullshitting you, if we are state-owned and win 3 titles in a row, I would genuinely sit there and go, yeah, they've won 3 titles, great. But it would tarnish it for me in a massive, massive way.
No, you know what? I respect that opinion, and I really do. I genuinely do. I'm not turning around saying you're a fucking idiot if you think that. I get that, but it's unavoidable, Gav. That's the thing.
I don't know if it's unavoidable. But having said that, right, the only people that can make this decision as to whether we be state owned or not is John.
The UEFA have made the game now.
Everyone else, our Fenway Sports Group. They're the only people that can make the decision on whether Liverpool will be state owned.
But UEFA have made it this playground now for billionaires because there's no regulations in. You were saying 2025. Fuck me, like Chelsea had to give your man an 8.5-year contract. What the fuck is going on?
I know. Anyway, Emma, what do you make of it? Is it just another day?
Look, I think we've shown over the last 5 or 6 years that we don't necessarily need to be state owned. I would much prefer not to be state owned. I think, and there's a lot of people saying it as well, and Johnny, you even said it yourself, there's no country should be allowed to own a football team in the first place.
I agree with that.
And what you're saying, Gav, is that you might get a Qatari businessman coming in and buying us, but he's not the Qatari government. So I think that should be avoided at all costs in all football, not just with us. But I would much prefer us to be owned by someone that will put in similar to FSG, but that will spend that little bit more. Like you said, Johnny, maybe they say, look, you're going to have 100 million every year, or spread out over the 2 windows every year. That'll do me. We've proved over the last 5-6 years that we don't need to spend $500 million to compete with these state-owned teams. We can do it, right? We're not going to have Klopp forever, but we've proved that they can be kept up with on a much lower budget. But I'd much prefer not to be. I'd much prefer not to be state owned as well. It's just I just don't think they should. They shouldn't be involved in club ownership. But look, there's going to be. They've come up with ways of creating sponsors for teams. I'm sure they could come up with ways if they banned states from owning it. They'll come up with some way of owning a club through an individual. It is unavoidable. Shawnee is right. It's just the way things are going. But
Yeah.
I'd much prefer not. I would. It's the way the club Liverpool itself is built, and the city itself. It's the complete antithesis of what Liverpool stands for, is to be owned by by a nation. Like, do you know what I mean? So, ideally, somebody similar to FSG. Sometimes it's better to devil you know than the devil you don't. Like, do you know what I mean? It's, you don't know who's going to.
I'm just of the opinion. I'm just of the opinion. Like Mata says there, Gav's just trying to take the moral high ground. I'm not. I'm not. If I took the moral high ground, I wouldn't listen to any of your arguments and just go, no, it's wrong and that's it. I'm listening to every argument that's come on here. Azadu says, would you rather wait another 30 years for another Premier League? No one likes waiting for 30 years for Premier League. But all I'm saying is that if you go back a year ago, right, and people didn't want FSG, and listen, the owners mean fuck all really to you. Do you know what I mean? But if you'd have went back a year ago without any talk of FSG selling, and you said, what do you want? You would probably say, well, they'll put their own money in. That's all you've heard. Put their own money in. And yeah, you're right. And people saying, would 100 million compete? Yes. Because if we spent 100 million over the last 2 seasons extra on what top of we have, we're not having a conversation about midfield. We're not having a conversation about ninth in the league. We're not having a conversation about what's Klopp thinking, what's this, what's that. Of course it makes you compete, because people completely look away from what Liverpool have. Like, when we go into title run-ins or races or cups or European nights, you go Klopp, the fans, the welcoming the buses, all this. People completely forget about all that. And I'll stand steadfast on it. If Liverpool found an owner that managed finances the way FSG do, but put extra amount in, wherever it might be, per season, Liverpool would absolutely compete, because every other asset they have at the club, what they've done in the past, the stadium's getting bigger, the European nights, the manager, everything out coupled in, you know, is what makes Liverpool Football Club. And when we were going up against City, yeah, they're powerhouses in financially because of what they do, right? But what did you always hear? You always heard, yeah, but Liverpool have that 12th man, they have Klopp, they have this. People just write that off now. Not enough. Just go and get all the money you can in the world, right? And just, it doesn't matter what anything else. But look, it'll go on. I fully agree with what you're saying. With it's probably non-avoidable. I don't think it is. I think we could. I would hope you could find someone out there that will buy and put more money in, and yes, it will probably end up being someone that doesn't want to make money off the club, because you won't. You're not making money out of Liverpool Football Club. But it's that's just the way I am, and I completely disagree with state ownership of Liverpool Football Club. And if people disagree with that, that's absolutely fine. You know what I mean? That's absolutely, like, I'm not going to fall out with anyone. You know, there's more important things in life than who owns fucking Liverpool Football Club.
What I think with it, before we finish up, it's you know, Liverpool. I hear what Gav's saying, and I'm sort of on that camp as well. And I don't know if it's, and I don't mean on this panel. This isn't that they got the younger member of the panel here, but I think older fans will be of one way of thinking, younger fans will be a different way of thinking. But I think, yeah, what can I say? You know, Shawnee, you're a young fella. You know what I mean? You're a young fella. But I think what Shawnee said is correct as well. People in the chat are saying, "Oh, so Gav, you're giving up, you're tapping out." Gav isn't saying that. It just wouldn't feel the same. But I think eventually it will. You know, the games are only going one way. The game is only going one way. And Gav is right. If you got an owner, if FSG put 100 million a year into the club, brilliant. The team wouldn't be in the state we're in now. We wouldn't be, you know, having to blade and put out fires here, there, and everywhere. But they don't. And what other model can we go under? Every big club is going to do it. United are going to be taken over by oil money soon. Spurs will be bought over, and there's a club with a £1 billion stadium, infrastructure in London. They'll be attractive to teams. You know, what I don't want to happen to Liverpool is when United got the march on us in the 90s with the commercial side of it, and we said, no, not for us. That's not. We're not going to be flogging our golly out there for blading this money. We don't need it. We're Liverpool, and we got left behind. And I don't want Liverpool to get left behind again because it's only going one way. And I wouldn't feel the same. I have to say, I wouldn't feel the same if it was a state-owned club. I think Gav's right. You lose the spirit. Emmet said it as well. You know, the people in Liverpool, the city of Liverpool, all that sort of stuff. And people think that's all wishy-washy, but it's not. It's what makes Liverpool. Liverpool's an underdog as a city. Do you know what I mean? It's an underdog, and feeds into the people in Liverpool, and that feeds into the football club. And it's not a Liverpool. It's not just Scousers that follow Liverpool. We know that. Not saying it is, but you know, it's that spirit that Liverpool have, and you're eroding that. But unfortunately, there's no other way. There's no other way. It's going to happen, and that's the problem. You have Newcastle now that are going to blow up. You have Man City, who we already know are there. You're going to have Manchester United. You're going to have Spurs, I reckon, at some stage. You have Chelsea, your man just thrown blading fucking money. What's it? We spent more this year than FSG having 10, and people are using that as some sort of stick to beat FSG with. They've been sensible. You don't want these blading Cowboys just throwing money, throwing shit at the wall that Todd Bowley is doing and hoping it sticks. That's reckless. I don't want reckless. I want a well-run club. We're Liverpool, and we don't need them to make up attendance figures. We don't need them to make up, you know, shitty little things to make it seem bigger. We are bigger. We're at the top table. It'll just be, you know, it's going one way, and unfortunately, we're at the point now where we are up for sale, and it's going to be Middle East money, and people.
And FSG will make that decision. Like the FSG will decide who they sell to.
But Gav, yeah, like we're sitting waiting. Like, remember the conversation you used to have? You used to say to yourself, I can't wait until it all comes in on Chelsea and fucking Russia go to war with Ukraine and Joke's ousted, and it's just like that, and you're kind of going, wow, I didn't see that happening. Like, you're waiting for a day of reckoning to come to these Middle East states that might stop them, and you're thinking, oh yeah, it might happen, and then you realise your man in PSG is on the fucking board of UEFA.
Oh no, I think, and that's probably the biggest frustration, Shawnee. Where like, I think the biggest frustration of it all is that the governing bodies have, for me, sold out completely as to what they were set up for. You know, it's just a bit. And that's a huge frustration of mine. And it's not because FSG come in and pointed at FFP and stuff like that. They could have pointed at whatever. FSG, regardless, even with FFP, I don't know if they can compete. Because just the way the game has grown, they just can't, right? Unless they're willing to do something a little bit off the cuff for them, right? And a huge frustration is UEFA and FIFA, who want to bring all these tournaments in all around the world and make everyone go everywhere at like every fucking 6 weeks. Do you know what I mean? And Francisco there says FFP doesn't exist. It does exist, but there's just so many ways around it, is the problem. It absolutely exists, but it's just, and it probably exists more for the likes of an Everton, who are really fucking struggling under FFP because of their spend and stuff like that. And that's their own doing, right? And Barcelona have fucking been stung by it. Loads have been stung, but there's just too many ways around it. And that's where the issue comes from. And that's a huge, it's a huge frustration of mine as well. Like where, and I'm not, you see, when I look at it, I think to myself, if they just done their job over there as the governing body of this sport in Europe, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And it's not the right reaction from me to say, well, they're not doing their job by letting these people over here do this. And we just go, well, there's 3 or 4 doing it. All right, well, then everyone else just tried to be what they are. You know what I mean? When we know it's wrong, we've been giving out about it for years. And we know it's wrong. But now it's just like, oh, well, look, they're not sorting it out, so let's just all be that. And listen, there'll be plenty of clubs out there in the Premier League, across all the top leagues in Europe, would happily do it. But I think, and I said it a while back, the day the likes of an Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United become state-owned, forget about it. Absolutely forget about it. And all your fucking, your history and your this and your that and your that, you just rode in behind what's being allowed to go on in the world of football. And yeah, it's probably not, you can't stop it, maybe, but you could try. or you could try stand up and say, well, no, we're not doing that. You know what I mean? And actually turn it to your advantage by saying, we are not taking a bid from this state. And it doesn't matter who it is, whether it's fucking Scotland or Qatar. We are not taking a bid from that.
That's
you know,
the way they look at it.
You know, and I know it's one of those, but look, we could go around in circles. Everyone has an opinion on it.
It's these people that are saying that they want to be left behind, but yet complained when FSG were up for the Super League because they were entering the Super League to not be left behind.
Yeah.
And people gave out about that, but now they don't mind being state-owned because they don't want to be left behind. So, like, there's a lot of hypocrisy around.
Well, I said it a while back. You know, people have asked me, would you stop doing this and stop doing that? I would genuinely have to look at the way I interact or the way I consume Liverpool Football Club. It becomes state-owned, and I mean that. And that's not me taking the moral high ground, as someone said earlier. That's just me. That's just how I was brought up as to what Liverpool Football Club are, and trying to be clubs that just done it to be relevant. It just isn't. It just isn't me. And I look, Seany or Emmet or anybody in that chat can go, oh, I will take it and I'll go off and enjoy it. Absolutely go and enjoy it. But it's just not me, and that's just the way it is. Would I stop covering football? No, because I love football. I love watching it. If you're that bad, you wouldn't report on Liverpool City because who City are. But it would make me take a long hard look at Liverpool, and you know what? I don't know how easily it will go through or how easy it will go down with the Liverpool fan base, but I'm sure that'll come to pass at the time.
I just say as well, sorry, and I think Keith might have been about to say it before. So we keep saying state-owned and mentioning the likes of Qatar and all. I think I wouldn't like to be state-owned by any country. It's not.
No, it's not. It's any country.
Middle Eastern. It just so happens that they're the countries that are doing the buying of football clubs at the moment. And it's
the money.
There's a lot of people just think that it's not saying it's xenophobic, maybe that it's Middle East. No, it's any country I would prefer not to be owned by.
It'd be like the United States buying them tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing. Anyway, look, I don't want to argue with anyone in the chat. I don't want to fucking fall out with anyone in the chat. That this show was here to give your honest opinion, and be allowed to give your honest opinion without people jumping down and going, you know, no, you're wrong and you're this standard. And that'll always be the same way.
Or typing in capitals.
Well, Sean is typing in capitals as well. Yeah, he says he just wants Liverpool to do well in the pitch. End of story. Don't give a bollocks about politics. That's absolutely fine. I'm just different to you. That's how it is. But everyone in the chat, we've burst through that 600 likes in 2 shows. By the way, it's close. It's over 7, I think, now at this stage. There's loads and loads of people watching tonight. We appreciate it. Thanks a million to Emmet, thanks a million to Seany. Keith's internet has done the dirt on him, so thanks a million to Keith. Look, the rest of the week, I think we have winners and losers tomorrow. We'll have a full-time Reds on Tuesday. We are going to do a transfer show during the week, but there's nothing really happening, so unless something pops up there, we won't. We will do a history show. I forgot to do it last week, genuinely forgot it, so I will do it at some stage this week. The Viewer's Voice will hopefully be back, Premier League forecast, and as well as that, we will have full-time Reds on Saturday and the Fatback 4 coming back. Anything else before we go, Seany?
No. Just try be respectful of people's opinions, even if you don't agree with them, one way or another. Look, I just want to see Liverpool win. I obviously have what's best for Liverpool at heart, but I want to see Liverpool win. It's so fucking sad that the state of the game, this is the state of play now in football and big sports, and unfortunately it can't be helped. Like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, if it could be avoided, I wouldn't want state ownership, but that's the way it's going. And what other choice do we have? If it's that I'll be left behind, I don't want to be left behind. Simple as that. Some people might feel differently. I respect that. Wouldn't fall out over it. Simple as that. Like, you're gonna read a load of shit over the next days. Just take it with a pinch of salt. try enjoy the football as best as you can now between now and the end of the season, because I think regardless of who's on us, we'll be back.
Yeah.
In some capacity.
Yeah,
Something will be-
100%. And
It's
you
just
know what?
That's the way it can be. That's all I can say. I'm not some sort of fucking, like, I'm not banging the drum. I'm not going to be wearing and bleeding bokehs or anything like that. If they're not building out, I'm not going to be making nothing FSG out. Like Emma said, it's not a xenophobic thing. That's the way it's going. These are the lads with the money. These are the ones with the interest. The price of the club has put us out of reach for somebody who might actually have the best of what's needed for the club at heart. But unfortunately, what can we fucking do? We're all frustrated now. We're backed into a corner. If we are winning games at top of the league, 10 points, nobody would want these lads near us. But that's the way it is. Football supporters were fickle or fucking idiots. And I know sometimes we lack, I'll speak for myself, lack the emotional intelligence to have a little bit of foresight to look down the road and think what might be better for you. So we want the best and we want yesterday.
And look,
that's
when it's sold, if and when the club is sold, you know, we cross that bridge when we come to it. And I'm sure there'll be many an argument over it at that time as well. But that's just the way it is. It's been sorry, anything else before we go?
Now I'll just there's comments from Simon Tilson, is it? He asked me to throw him somewhere. He says he's 10 stone. I'm twice that, so I'd give it a go. He wants to be thrown all the way to Ireland. I don't know where he lives, Simon, but we'll try it.
Yeah, he'd shot Butcher by the ankles. Emmet is an absolute monster.
Yeah, I wouldn't be fucking with him, I'm being honest with you. You know what I mean? Anyway.
And I'm friends with Garmac. He's even bigger.
Oh yeah, Jesus, he's a monster as well. Right, but look, that has been a brilliant show. We've kept you way too long. I think it's about an hour and 40 minutes. We were trying to do this in an hour, but obviously when we get into conversation, it goes on, and we try to use as much of the chat as we can. Yeah.
It's just this is social media in a nutshell. Football content, selling souls. Have no problem filling your car up with Middle Eastern oil, though. Well, if the car ran on Christmas dry, I'd use it. You know what I mean? It's not much you can do in that plane. These are all mad. I swear. These are.
Anyway. That has been the Fatback 4. The link is in the description for our charity campaign. 11 very brave women running the Dublin Marathon in October. We're doing our best to raise them as much money as we possibly can for breast cancer research. Like I said, if you click on the show description, you will find it. You can donate there. 1, 2, 5, 10, 20 or whatever and what you want. Every single euro counts. Thanks for with you hitting the likes on the post match yesterday and this. Kieran Thorne will be donating £600 to that fund, which is absolutely amazing. And you know something, like I said, donate if you can, share it wherever you can. If you can't find it, like it's on every piece of our social media, but if you can't and you want to email us, lfcdaytrippers@gmail.com, we will be more than happy to show you where the link is. Send your posters that you can, A4 posters that you can print out and stick around the house, the neighbourhood, the walk, the canteen, whatever you want. They're up at around €1,400 already. It's only been going 5-6 days. So look, we are going to get to 20 grand. Not try, we're going to. But as I said, if you can donate, please do. If you can't, and we understand times are hard for people, share it wherever you can, because every time you share it, someone might pick it up and share it again or donate, and that's how it works. But there you go. Someone says I missed the super chat. Jesus, lads, before I go. Jamrock said a 32 team FIFA club World Cup in 2025 in June. Yeah, is that the one I missed? I had it on screen. I didn't read it out, but there you go. But 2025 is when you really see what's going on. But look, that's it. We'll talk to you again. That's been the Fatback 4. Over and out.